this nurse and nursing student come in the room and they're like, "We're here to draw your blood." And I'm like, "What?" It's 5 o'clock in the morning, first of all. Second of all, I just fell asleep. Third of all, I just had a baby. So like, chill out. And fourth, no, I'm not letting a student come near me with a needle. Are you crazy?
Somebody's still bitter.
I'm Kayla Heeter, follower of Jesus, wife and mother of 6 children, Christian childbirth educator and doula, and your host of the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast, where we share God-centered birth stories, evidence-based birth education, and our pursuit of surrendering our birth plans to God. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to announce that I have officially given birth to our 6th sweet baby and am soaking up every newborn cuddle and snuggle and smell and smile and nursing session and everything that comes with the sweet newborn season. So during this time over the next several weeks, to give my husband and I a little bit of a break from working on the podcast each week, we are actually going to be replaying all of our birth stories, our personal, my husband and I's birth stories. So since we have now 6 children, for 5 weeks, we will replay each of our kids' birth story one by one, a blast from the past, or maybe you've never heard them before because you're a new listener. So that will give you sort of an idea of my journey when it came to birth. And then in the 6th week, we will release this sweet baby's birth story as the start of our new episodes beginning again. So I hope you all enjoy listening while we enjoy cuddling this sweet new baby. Well, welcome to the pilot episode of Surrendered Birth Stories. This is a very exciting moment for me. I am your host, Kayla Heeter, and today my guest is none other than my husband,
The hubs.
Chris Heeter. I thought it would be a perfect way to start out this podcast by telling the start of our story, or my story, of becoming a mother and then becoming a doula shortly after that. So Chris and I, a little backstory, had dated for about 7 years before we got married, high school sweethearts. And then once we got married, I was bound and determined to not have kids for 10 years or more. That was my goal, 10 years. I wanted plenty of time for us, plenty of time to travel, plenty of time to build my career, which was teaching. I used to be a first grade teacher. And I really, really enjoyed it and spent a lot of time on that. So I was nowhere near ready to become a mom.
Yeah, we wanted to basically get to the point where there was enough stability to be able to put some variables into the equation, such as children.
Right. So, however, a couple of years into our marriage, just under 2 years, through a series of different events and situations, God really started to change our hearts towards becoming parents. And he really made it very clear through a lot of prayer and a lot of different signs that we were supposed to start a family. And so much so that as soon as we'd stopped preventing any sort of conception from happening, we conceived.
It was a sure shot.
It was a sure shot, which was really for us confirmation that we had heard from the Lord very clearly that it was time for us to start a family. So 2 years into marriage and 9 years into our relationship, we were pregnant.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! We, I think, had a pretty typical, normal a first-time pregnancy for the modern American family. I was 24 years old. Yeah, because I was 22 when we got married. So I was 24 years old, and I had the typical first trimester nausea. I didn't do so much vomiting for my first pregnancy. It was really just a few times, but the nausea was very present. But it was summertime, so for the most part, I was able to just sleep it off.
Because you were a teacher.
Because I was a teacher and I was off for the summer. So that was quite a blessing. But I would say by like 14 weeks or so, it pretty much cleared up for me, which was really good. And I felt much, much better after that. I was seeing my OBGYN, who I'd been seeing for the last couple of years, because I honestly didn't know there were any other options. I didn't know you could see anyone besides an OBGYN. I didn't know you could deliver a baby anywhere but a hospital. So this was the year 2013 when I got pregnant, just to give you a timetable. So I went to my regularly scheduled appointments every month, then every 2 weeks. Everything was pretty run-of-the-mill. I would go to my appointments, wait for a long time, then see whoever was, in the office, because they have you rotate through everybody. And I think there were 10 doctors in my practice. So I had to see a lot of different doctors. You would see them for a couple minutes and then off you went. Chris came with me to every single appointment the first time around.
That's me. I'm Chris, by the way.
Yes, Chris, my husband. He was there for every appointment because back then, and still a little bit, I was very phobic of doctors, hospitals, needles in particular, blood, all of that made me very anxious, nervous, uncomfortable, jittery, shaky, dizzy. I'm known to faint and pass out after giving blood. I'm known to shake while getting any sort of shot or injection or anything. So between the blood draws and the glucose test, which was awful, by the way, and the Rogam shot and everything, I was a hot mess. So, but thankfully he was there. He was there. Okay, so fast forward to the end of the pregnancy. I was 36 weeks, and that's when they start having you come every week, and they check your cervix, which I didn't know at the time that you could decline. I just thought that was what you were supposed to do. So they checked my cervix. 36 weeks, I was 1 centimeter dilated and 50% effaced, which back then I really didn't know, context-wise exactly what that meant. I just knew that that was better than 0. And so my doctor says, wow, you're already dilated. You're probably going to have this baby early, like before your due date. And I was like, oh, cool. It's awesome. It's January by now, by the way. So then I go to my 37-week appointment and they check me and they say, oh, you're 2 centimeters dilated now. And you are, a little over 50% effaced. And they said, you're probably not going to make it to your next appointment. You're probably going to have the baby this week. And I was like, what? Like 37 weeks? Like I didn't realize it would happen that early, especially since it was my first time. And I just thought whatever the doctor said was true. So I called my mom, who lived in Florida, because she wanted to come be there for the birth, not in the room, but just, at the hospital. And so I called her and I said, pack your bags. You need to drive up because the doctor said, I'm going to have the baby this week or any day. So come on up. So she quickly gathers her stuff and she leaves early the next morning and she's there at 37 weeks. So honestly, I really enjoyed that. It was nice to have her there at the end of the pregnancy because she was very helpful. Laundry, dishes, cooking meals. It was amazing. I would go to work and teach all day. I would come home to a clean house and a home-cooked meal. So it was really nice.
Unfortunately, that's much more than what I could offer at the time.
Yeah, well, it's okay. So then, surprise, surprise, I did not have the baby that week. I went in for my 38-week appointment. And they checked me, and I was now 3 centimeters dilated and 75% effaced. And the doctor said, "Oh, you're going to have this baby like any day now." He's like, "You're not making it to your next appointment. Like, don't even bother. Don't even bother scheduling it. Like, you're going to have this baby any day." And I was like, "Okay." Like, that's what you guys said last week. Okay. So I'm believing them and thinking that this is going to happen, which makes the waiting game that much harder, because when someone's telling you you're going to have your baby and you don't know any better, so you're like, oh, you believe them. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating. So another week goes by. I don't have the baby. Oh, gosh, I just remember how hard that was. Every day feels like a week, and every week feels like a month. And
It's just disappointing because you're so excited and antsy to meet your child.
yes, I wanted to meet her. I wanted to see what she looked like. I also was not the biggest fan of pregnancy, so I was ready to be done with that as well. But anyways, 39 weeks comes, and I go back to the doctor, and they check me again, and now I'm 4 centimeters dilated and 90% effaced. And of course, I get the same spiel, and I'm like, hold your tongue, because this is what you've said the last few weeks, and it hasn't come true, so just hold it right there. So then the doctor said, "Okay, well, let's just go ahead and schedule an induction then." And I was like, "An induction? What's an induction?" I had no idea what that was. And he said, "Well, it's literally, this is what he said. He said, well, you'll just come to the hospital and we'll give you some medicine to make you have your baby, and you'll have your baby that day." And
How convenient.
How convenient. I was like, really?
I can choose my child's birthday.
That's so cool. Like, that's amazing. I mean, and that's all he said. That there was no explanation of the process. There was no like talk of risks or benefit, like nothing. It was just like, well, let's schedule an induction and you can just have this baby. So I was 39 weeks. So he scheduled it for the day of 40 weeks, which was a Monday. And so I knew nothing. And so I was like, okay, great. And I got so excited, and I told my husband, and I told my mom, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be induced on Monday, and we're going to have the baby on Monday. And I didn't know any better. Thankfully, by a miracle of the Lord, I did not make it to Monday, and I went into labor beforehand, which was honestly such a blessing, because now knowing what I know about inductions and having seen everything I've seen with inductions as a doula, it's just like, whew, I'm just so glad that I did not have to go through that.
Which thankfully there's a time and a place for inductions, and they can be a really useful tool in certain situations.
But very rarely.
Rarely. And so it was really interesting just to understand that we could schedule this thing. And
right.
we're going to go ahead and say, hey, this is the day that you're going to have your baby. That was just strange to me.
It would have been considered an elective induction, because I had absolutely no medical reason as to why I needed one. Okay, so a few days later, I said it was January and I'm a school teacher. So we had, been doing all of the things at home to try and put me into labor, none of which was working, between the breast pump and, being intimate and walking and trying to do the spicy food, like all the things, nothing was working.
We made a lot of friends at the mall.
We did make a lot of friends at the mall.
Walking the loop.
The laps at the mall for a long time. So all of a sudden we had a snow day. It snowed and I didn't have to go to school. School was canceled. So I got to sleep in. I got to just relax. I had no responsibilities for the day. I took a long shower. I just spent the whole day relaxing and doing whatever I wanted to do. And apparently that was the trick. That's what I needed to do. I needed to stop trying to go into labor and to just relax.
Well, at that point, your body was just so tense from the anticipation.
It really was. So that night, it was around 6:00. We were having dinner, which, by the way, was pizza bagels.
Mm.
A childhood nostalgic favorite meal of mine that my granny used to make me all the time, pizza bagels. We're having pizza bagels on the couch, and I was feeling crampy, so I got a heating pad, and my mom was like, oh, maybe this is it. And I was like, no, Mom, like...
At this point, how long has she been at our house?
2 weeks.
From out of town,
From out of
mind
town.
you.
A little over 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I said no. I said, they're just cramps. I said, they're not coming in waves like contractions. They're just cramps. And so just put the heating pad on. We watched this Christian comedy show that was actually really funny.
Thou shalt laugh.
Thou shalt not laugh.
No.
This is what it was called.
No.
Was it called Thou Shalt Laugh?
It was called Thou Shalt Laugh.
Oh, that makes
And like
more...
Michael Jr. and some other folks.
Michael Jr.
It was
really...
it was very funny.
It was really funny. We still make jokes about some of the jokes that were in that today. Anyways, so that was good. We spent like 3 hours laughing, which was really nice. But my cramps went away and everything stopped. And it was like, okay, cool. It's time to go to bed. So everyone went to sleep. And mind you, my sister also lived with us at the time. So my mom and her, everyone was upstairs asleep. And when I laid down to go to bed, the cramps came back. But this time they were coming in waves, and they were a little sharper than they were before. They were coming like every 10 or 15 minutes.
How prepared were you for the first onset of actual contractions, just from an education standpoint?
Oh, this is a good point. Thank you for bringing this up. The education that I had was... I read the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, which I laugh about now. Like now, if someone tells me that's all they've read, I'm like, you know nothing. But I read that book, and we took a hospital birth class that was a hospital birth class. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I learned how to change diapers.
Yeah, Chris learned how to change a diaper. I learned what it looks like when you get an epidural. And that's all I remember. That was pretty much it. Yeah. I do remember in the hospital birth class, they did show 3 different videos. One was a natural birth, but literally the whole time it was this woman who looked totally miserable, by the way. And they were like, you won't give birth like this. Don't worry. Like, women don't give birth like this. Like, you won't be on your hands and knees, like this isn't how it's going to happen. But she looked like she was dying in the video. And I was like, this is a horrible video to show people. It's so scary. And so I was like, I'm definitely not doing that. And then they showed the epidural video. Well, hello, needle phobia. I was like, holy crap, that's a big needle. Like, just totally freaked out by it. I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to do that. And then they showed the C-section video, and I was like, okay, I absolutely don't want to do that. And then I remember looking at Chris, and I said, I don't want to do any of those. And you're like, you're out of options. You're like, you're going to have to choose one. And I was like, oh gosh, like, I don't know. I did land on planning for an epidural, by the way. I figured that needle would give me relief from pain, at which I had a very low pain tolerance and was definitely not mentally prepared for labor. So I did plan an epidural from the beginning. But I had a friend who was going through doula training, and she offered to be my doula, which I didn't even know what a doula was. I had never heard that word before. So she kind of explained it to me. And I was like, okay, but I can still get an epidural, right? And she was like, yeah, you can. I was like, okay, well, cool. I was like, I just want to make it. I knew enough to know that I wanted to be like further along in labor before I got it, just so I didn't like stall out and need Pitocin, because I had just heard horror stories about Pitocin, which no, I didn't know that I would have had to have Pitocin for an induction. But that was like our prayer. I just remember praying like, we don't want Pitocin. Like was like, we don't want Pitocin. That's our prayer for this birth. No Pitocin. So anyways, that was my labor education and prep. That was about it.
When you told me you wanted a doula, I was like, a what?
A what?
What's that thing? Is it like, this sounds like a head wrap.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what it was either. And now I am one,
Yay.
which is really cool. Okay, so I go to bed, I lay down, I start feeling these contractions like every 10 or 15 minutes. Mind you, I had never had a single Braxton Hicks contraction leading up to this.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that.
Yeah, with my first,
I only saw it on Friends.
oh,
That was a Friends episode where
Ross shows up with Twizzlers at the hospital
Yeah.
because he left Mona on a date at the movies.
Fun fact: we speak in Friends quotes in our family.
Friends quotes. It's true. So these are my first ever contractions I've ever had. So I'm excited and I'm giddy because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is finally it. It is finally happening. So even though I was in early labor and I should have gone to sleep, I did not. I got up. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I texted my doula and said like, hey, just want to let you know, be on call because I think things are starting. And she was like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. And I was like, how could you sleep in an hour like this? But but everyone else was asleep. Chris was asleep. My mom, everyone was asleep.
I remember going to bed and you were just pacing.
Yes. Well, so I started pacing. I went downstairs. I was pacing the whole house, honestly. And I ended up turning on What to Expect When You're Expecting.
The movie.
The movie,
Right.
which I find hilarious to this day, by the way. It's so funny. So I wanted to watch it during labor to distract me. So I was sitting on the birthing ball and I was praying in these contractions. And I was just praying to Jesus and saying like, Lord, please bring me another contraction. Make this be it. I want to be in labor. Bring me another contraction. And when I would have the contraction, I would say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for this contraction. Like, this is amazing. Thank you so much for this contraction. Because I was so excited and I wanted it to keep going. I didn't want it to stop because I had heard, about other labors like fizzling out. And so I was just determined that this was going to be it. So I would say after however many hours, few hours, I stopped praying. I didn't need to pray them in anymore, and I definitely was not praising through them anymore. And it shifted. I shifted from early labor to active labor, and I wasn't too happy anymore. I remember I woke you up, and I said, "Hey, like I'm in labor. Like this is it." And you said, "Do we need to go to the hospital now?" And I said, "No, not yet." And he said, okay, well, wake me up in time for me to shower before we go to the hospital. And then you turned back over and went right back to sleep. And I was like, how could you sleep at a time like this? But I was just so
You said
giddy.
the same thing to your doula.
Yeah, well, yes. I didn't understand why nobody else was as excited as I was. I don't know. A lot of first-time moms feel that way. Giddy, anxious, which, again, I should have gone to sleep, but my hormones and emotions were all over the place, so I just couldn't. But I really wish I would have, if I had known how much longer it was.
It's almost like you get the jitters.
Yeah.
It's almost like I can't go to sleep because there's just like this.
I'm too excited.
Yeah, right.
I was too excited. So then, I remember around 2 a.m., I was like, okay. This is serious. They were coming, by the book, like every 5 minutes, lasting for a minute. And that had been happening for an hour. So I was like, okay, it's time. It's time to go. So I called them, like the hospital or my doctor, and said, like, hey, we're going to come in. And right before we left, though, my body started purging itself, which, I found out later was like a sign of definitely you're in labor, but because your body's like clearing itself out to make room for the baby to come down. But I didn't know that at the time. And I was like, why can't I stop going to the bathroom? And why can't I stop throwing up? Like it was just, but I got it all out. And then we got in the car and oh my car tractions, those are the worst. Those were the worst. And we only lived, 15 minutes from the hospital? And you probably got there in like 10 because it was 3 a.m. on a Thursday morning and you were driving pretty swiftly.
I was fast and furious mode.
Yeah, because I just told you, I was like, drive faster. Get there. I don't know. Being in the car and having contractions is no fun at all. Whether you are pregnant with your first baby or wanting to have a different birth experience for a subsequent delivery, this is the fully comprehensive Christian childbirth course for you, the Surrendered Birth Course. With over 10 years of experience as a childbirth educator, a birth doula, and having had 5 kids myself, almost 6, I have created a course fit for every mama out there who wishes to be fully informed on all things pregnancy, labor, birth, postpartum, and breastfeeding, while remembering to keep Jesus at the center of it all. Our God created a beautiful design for birth, something to look forward to, and not something to be feared. Not only will this course get you prepared for your birth, but it will also get you excited for it. It will answer questions you never knew you had and teach you things you didn't realize were so incredibly valuable and central to the entire birthing process. I've had numerous couples on their 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th babies who've taken this course and said how incredibly glad they were and that they learned so much more than they ever thought they would. With over 12 hours of video content, 5 modules, numerous lessons, detailed PDF printout notes, and endless resources, we dive deep into pregnancy, labor, the risks and benefits of interventions, inductions, immediate and extended postpartum for both mom and baby, everything you need to know about breastfeeding, and basic newborn care. This course covers everything. Once you've taken the course, I am available to you for any questions you might have during a monthly live Q&A Zoom call exclusive to our online course audience, as well as through email. The course is on demand, so as soon as you purchase it, you'll be able to start right away and re-watch any lessons as many times as you need. Whether you are planning a medicated hospital birth or an unmedicated birth at a birth center or home birth, this course will prepare you in every way that you can be prepared. While I understand the desire to take a specific hospital or home birth course catered to your specific birth plans, birth doesn't always go how we plan. And having the knowledge of how birth can go in other environments outside of our plans is essential. Most importantly, I will help you to surrender these plans to God. And in return, the Holy Spirit will provide you with the peace that only He can give. For more information on the course, to read testimonials of others who have taken it, or to sign up for the course, just click the link in the show notes. And lastly, remember, just like we say here every week on the podcast, learn all that you can, make the best plans, and then leave it in God's hands. So we get to the hospital. My doula meets us there. We go to triage. They check me. I'm still a 4, maybe like 4.5, and still 90%, but they could tell I was definitely in active labor. So they're like, okay, you're going to stay. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't know that I was maybe not going to stay. So they put me in a room. And I remember just having a moment. My doula and Chris went to go check in and get their badges. And I was just sitting alone in the room, looking around like, this is it. I'm going to have my baby today. Like just having that moment of like surreal realization. This is happening. I just vividly remember that moment. And then we labored. Boy, did we labor.
You did so good, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I don't like looking back. I'm like, that was the worst I did out of the 4.
Considering where you were in life, man. What a
where
champ.
I was in life, my pain tolerance and my needle phobia. Yeah. So we walked the halls. We did like the slow dancing move, sat on the ball. I mean, the time really honestly went by so fast. I was like in labor land, didn't really know. But every time they would check me, like I really wasn't progressing. I made it to like a 5. But I was there for like 9 hours and I was still just at a 5. Like I stalled out at a 5. And I think because at that point, my body began fighting the contractions and I was no longer handling them. I was just like fighting them. And I was curled up in a ball on the hospital bed in the fetal position, crying. But I didn't want to ask for the epidural because like didn't want anyone to be disappointed in me because I hadn't made it, further than a 5. I wanted to make it to a 7. I don't know why I had my mind fixed on the number 7.
I remember if there was a number that we wanted to hit before.
We
Like it
wanted
was
to
the
hit
goal.
7.
The goal
7
number.
was the goal. And but I wasn't getting a break. It was like the contractions were constant and they would never completely stop between the peaks. It was like they would come down, but then they would go back up again and they wouldn't I would never get like a full break. And I just felt like awful. It was bad. I was in a really bad mental state too, just like waiting until I could have the epidural. And I'll never forget this moment. I was like curled up crying. You guys were trying to get me to look in your eyes and like get it together. The doula was trying to get me to go into the tub or into the shower. And I was like, I don't want to move. Like, I just don't want to move. And I was crying. And I remember hearing you say, you looked over at a nurse and you said, I think she's ready for the epidural now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never loved you so much in my whole life. Like, I was just so grateful that you asked for it for me, so that I didn't have to, so that it wasn't me who like requested it. It was really, really sweet moment.
Yeah. Part of it was I just hated seeing you in that much pain.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it wasn't a good feeling you were going through.
No.
And you were, you had reached a threshold of, not really being even able to think clearly. So,
No. And mind you, like all this pressure, not physical pressure, just like mental and emotional pressure that I didn't realize I was dealing with, that was everybody was in the waiting room. Like my mom was there, my sister was there. Okay, let me tell you, I was one of the first people in my family to have a baby. Definitely the first of my siblings, but the first of many of my cousins. I had a couple cousins, but none locally. None of my local cousins had a baby. And so literally aunts, uncles, cousins, all in the waiting room during my labor. Like and I obviously wasn't out there, but I'm just like, oh, all these people are waiting on me to have a baby. Like my dad and stepmom were driving down from Ohio. Like it was just like, oh my gosh, all these people. And here we are, however many hours later, and I still haven't had this baby. So we changed things the second time around for that. Okay, so we get the epidural, and I handled it. Thank you. The worst part was the numbing shot. That was worse. Because then, like, once you were numb, the epidural itself really just felt like someone was pushing what are those things called that you play pool with? A pool stick?
yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
A pool stick. Is that really what it's called?
As a man, I should probably know.
Okay. Well, whatever those big sticks are that you hit the pool balls with at the pool table.
Is it called a cue stick?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
You can tell we obviously don't play pool. Anyways, but it felt like that was being shoved into my back. That's what the epidural going in felt like to me. So it didn't hurt. It was just a lot of pressure. But it was only working on one side. So they were like turning me to the other side. I remember them just kind of turning me. And then I took a nap, a much needed nap, which was really, really awesome. I really thoroughly enjoyed that nap. It was much needed and appreciated.
I'm sure more than just you needed the nap.
Well, you left at that point. You went to go like talk to everybody and eat food and stuff. Because then, of course, I wasn't allowed to eat food. So I just remember like, okay, I'm going to take a nap. Woke up and the doctor came in for the first time, I think, that day. Maybe he came in like like when I first got there at like 3 a.m. or something. But then I remember like I didn't see him again until late afternoon. And He checked me and I was 6 centimeters. And he was like, well, I want to see you make more progress. So we're going to break your water. And I was like, okay, whatever, sure. I didn't know anything. So I was like, okay, break my water. Great. So they broke my water. Of course, I couldn't feel it because I had the epidural. Also, this is just a little known fact. I did not want a catheter. And I was very insistent on not having a catheter, which catheter is like standard of care when you have an epidural. But I did not want one. So my nurse said, well, if you can pee in a bedpan in the bed with this epidural, I won't make you get a catheter. And lo and behold, I did it.
Look at you, bound and determined.
Bound and determined not to get a catheter. Because I'd also heard about like catheter injuries. And I was just like, I don't want one of those tubes up it. Anyways, so I did have to like push on my bladder to get it to come out. But I know a full bladder is not good for labor. So I didn't know that then, but I know that now. So anyways, a few more hours go by and I'm just kind of hanging out. Started watching a movie, Enchanted. Anybody ever seen Enchanted?
Oh,
that is one of my very favorite movies.
How do you know?
Yes, I love that movie. So we were watching it like on a computer and like halfway through it, I was like, man, I am in pain again. Like I'm just starting to feel all this again. So it like turned me over again. I remember we requested the nurse to come back and I was like, can we up the dose of this epidural? Because when you expect to feel nothing and you start feeling things, you're like, okay, something's off. So she comes in to up my epidural, but she's like, just let me check you. Mind you, it had been 45 minutes since the doctor broke my water. Because I think we started the movie like right after that. And she checks me. She's like, oh, you're a 9. A 9? That was fast. And she's like, yeah, it can happen. And she's like, I'll probably be back in an hour to, you'll be ready to start pushing. And I was like, what? I don't know. Like when you've been in labor that long and then suddenly you kind of forget what the end is. So when she said that, it got very real. I remember we turned off the movie because I was like, okay, I can't focus on this anymore. I'm about to push out a baby. What's happening? Sure enough, she came back in like an hour or less and she was like, you're a 10. It's time to start pushing. I did not feel the urge to push, by the way, at all, which I know now is, I should have waited longer, but this was 2014 and she was like, okay, you're a 10. You can start pushing. So we did. I said, I'm not a very good patient, but I am going to be a very good pusher. And she was like, okay, let's see it. And sure enough, I was. Okay. It was my first time. I was a first-time mom. I had an epidural, and I only pushed for 40 minutes.
What a pro.
And I didn't even have the urge. So that's the other thing. I'm like, I probably would have pushed for less if I had waited until I had the urge to push.
Yeah, you did amazing.
Did amazing. Thank you very much. About 20 minutes in, I was surprised that it was just the nurse. But then, I remember her like calling the doctor and being like, okay, you should get in here now. And then suddenly, like 15 people come in the room. Because, you're going to have a baby. So I guess, anyways, I remember I closed my eyes about halfway through pushing and I could not open them again. Like I kept them closed the rest of the time I was pushing. In between contractions, during contractions, it was just that pressure got so intense. And I was just like, I couldn't even open my eyes. So, fun fact, I never actually saw the doctor who delivered our daughter. Never actually saw him, didn't know what he looked like. Because he came in the contraction before she was born. So all I remember is his voice and him saying like, if you give me one more push, like I'll give you your daughter. And I was like, okay. Like, but I didn't open my eyes. Like I just put my chin to my chest, squeezed my eyes and just pushed. And then out she came. And so when she was born, just remember, this is what I remember, her coming at me with her like long witch fingers.
Oh man.
She had the longest fingers.
Yeah, and her feet were so big. Oh, so
she was just
so
like
precious.
She was long and skinny.
Yeah, very skinny legged, very skinny body.
All slimy.
Oh.
And yes, and so she came right at me. So I never looked at the doctor. I was just looking at her, and I remember him saying, well, everything looks good here. You didn't tear. Like, I don't even remember delivering the placenta. He probably pulled it out, honestly. Like, I don't remember any of that. I just remember him, like, I remember his voice saying, like, well, you didn't tear, so I've got nothing to do here. So congratulations. And he walked out. And I never saw his face because I remember at the postpartum 6 weeks later, we were at the OBGYN and you came with me and you were like, hey, that's Dr. Such and Such. And I was like, who? And you're like, the guy who delivered Brinkley. And I was like, what? No, I've never seen that man before. And you're like, well, yeah, that's who delivered Brinkley. So
Yeah, I remember seeing him in the hallway, and I was thankful towards him. I said, "Hey, thank you for delivering our baby." And he looked at me down the hall, and he was like, "Oh, oh, you're welcome."
right. He had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
He was in there. I mean, he couldn't have been in there for more than 10 minutes. Like, it was so fast.
I
That
remember
part.
though, it was so strange, just as a first-time dad, to see, first off, see the baby come out, but to see the baby inch towards the world.
Yeah.
And just like little by little by little, seeing the hair, unbelievable. I couldn't not watch. It was amazing. I also remember when she finally came out, I was like, oh, she came. Ooh, that's squirty. That's really squirty. What's happening? Oh, well, I think my baby's okay. Is Kayla okay? So, but it was so incredible just to watch, especially as a first-time dad. But it was an interesting perspective for me.
I remember you saying it was the most glorious thing you had ever seen.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and to this day.
Because I would have so many other dads who are like, I don't want to watch. I don't want to look down there. I'm going to stay by the head. And I'm like, well, my husband said it was the most glorious thing he's ever seen. So maybe you should look.
Yeah, it is. And I think some of that comes from, anyway, I won't get into it, but it was really incredible for me just to experience the birth of the birth of my family,
Yeah.
And this is the beginning, and I hadn't planned on just having one, but just knowing and understanding that our family was just born too. It's not just my daughter. It's not just my first child. This is our family. So anyway, it was wonderful.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was a good moment. So back then, that was before it was a baby-friendly hospital. So they took her and did all the things to her. And, we didn't really have that golden hour. But I didn't know any different. And I remember she was skin to skin on you before she was really skin to skin on me.
Why don't you explain golden hour real quick?
Oh, it's just like that first hour or two after the baby comes out where they should be skin to skin on mom's chest and have the opportunity to nurse and just be not messed with. Not weighed, not wiped, not, anything. Just should be mama and the baby and the dad. Honestly, it was a very surreal experience. The hospital stay wasn't too fun. I remember them, of course, they wouldn't let you sleep while you were holding your baby. So that was kind of annoying because she would only sleep if someone was holding her. I remember when everyone was gone that night, because she was born at 7:18 p.m. that night. And they did let some visitors come in a little late, because everyone wanted to meet. I mean, seriously, I think there were 6 or 7 people in that first night before 10 o'clock or something. And then when everyone left and all the nurses were done with their checks and it was the first time we had really been alone, she started crying and we looked at each other and we were like, what do we do? She's crying. What do we do? Now I know, just put her on the boob. But back then I was just I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and obviously, your first time breastfeeding.
Oh yeah.
Having to navigate that was interesting.
We struggled. She couldn't latch. My nipples were flat. They were all swollen from all the fluids. It was, had to have a nipple shield and we had to do hand expression and spoon feed and all the things. Eventually, a couple months down the road, we got all that worked out and she was able to nurse fine and, it was good. But, the first couple of days were, the first couple months were a struggle, but we worked through it, which was good. I will just never forget The next morning, I literally had just fallen asleep for the first time in since she was born. And you were holding her and I had just fallen asleep. It was 5:00 in the morning and this nurse and nursing student come in the room and they're like, "We're here to draw your blood." And I'm like, "What?" It's 5:00 in the morning, first of all. Second of all, I just fell asleep. Third of all, I just had a baby. So chill out. And fourth, no, I'm not letting a student come near me with a needle. Are you crazy?
Somebody's still bitter.
So I did decline, and I didn't even know I could decline it. I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. And she's like, "So you're declining your blood draw?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. Goodbye." Leave. And so when the other nurse came back at 7, a new nurse came for a shift, she was like, "So I see that you declined your blood draw. Can you explain to me why?" I was like, yes, it was 5:00 in the morning. I had just fallen asleep and it was a student and I hate needles. So yeah, I declined it. She's like, "Okay, well, would you mind if we went ahead and got that?" And I was like, "Oh, fine."
I remember it was just the whole experience of the hospital stay afterwards, after she was born, up until the time where they said that we could, we were going to go home. I was trying to sleep too, but my goal was if I hold the baby, then Kayla can sleep. But there were just so many constant interruptions.
It was just a constant interruption. It was thing after thing. It was like, "Hey, we're here to deliver your food. Hey, we're here to take out your trash. Hey, we're here to change your laundry. Hey, we're here for the hearing exam. Hey, we're here for this test. Hey, we're here for that test. Hey, we're here to take newborn pictures. Hey, we're here for you to sign release forms. Hey, we're here for you to sort out the birth certificate information." I mean, it was just thing after thing after thing. And I was like, can we just be left alone? That was annoying for sure. Because I was so tired. I just remember being so exhausted and being like, can I just get some time to sleep where someone's not taking my blood pressure or giving me a thermometer under my tongue, or the baby. Because, then you'd get them all nice and finally asleep and they'd come in and mess with the baby and wake them up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, I did. That was annoying for sure.
Joseph Prince kept me company on the TV all night long.
Oh my gosh.
Televangelist right. Joseph Prince.
I kind of do have vague memory of you watching.
I kind of wanted his hair a little bit.
I don't even know what he looks like.
All right. It's probably good.
Okay.
He's a pretty boy.
Well, anyways, that was that. We went home and we became parents. And it was really, really wonderful and exhausting, but wonderful. And just such a special, special time. That was such a special time. Just the three of us.
Yeah, there was really no other time like that. It's really special. In my experience, kind of coming into that, because your whole life, you long for independence, and then you become an adult, right? And so you become an adult, and then you have this independence, so to speak. Then you find the person you're going to marry, and then you have to adjust, but then you have this vision of what your life's going to be like when you're married. And then you have a baby, and you get to the place where you're having to become more and more understanding of the fact that people depend on you. But this one is so much more than anything else, because this amazing little life that just came into the world needs you more than anything, and needs you for survival and sustenance, and especially the mom, obviously. And so, and even for me, it was a lesson in learning to be needed and being okay being needed, because you fight for that independence so much on the front end, Yeah. It's like you become an adult. I want to be independent. Oh wait, I just had a kid. I can't be as independent,
Never realized how much time you had in life until you had a kid. You're like, what did I used to do with my time?
Yeah. But it was so good for us, because there's a refining process that happens through all of that.
Definitely.
And for us, it was the beginning of us becoming us, honestly. So I'm just really thankful.
Me too. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. You can reach me at Surrendered Birth Services on Instagram, or email me at contact@surrenderedbirthservices.com. Be sure not to miss an episode by hitting the follow button. Also, we'd love for you to leave a written review of the show so that more people's births and lives can be changed by the love of Jesus and the empowerment of accurate birth education. If you really enjoyed this episode in particular, please take a screenshot of it and post it to your Instagram story, tagging Surrendered Birth Services. If you would like to be a guest on the Surrendered Birth Stories podcast, please click the link in the episode show notes to fill out your interest form. Also, if you're interested in taking my childbirth classes, birth consultations, or having me as your birth doula, please click on the link in the show notes to take you to my website for online and in-person options. Just as a reminder, this show is not giving medical advice, so please continue to see your personal care provider as needs arise. We hope you have a great week. And remember, learn all that you can, make the best plans, and then leave it in God's hands.
I actually wouldn't be surprised right now if she was listening in on this conversation, listening to her birth story right now outside of the door.
Oh, Brinkley?
Yeah, our daughter.
Yes. She's a night owl.
Yeah.
She...
And we are recording this at night after bedtime.
Yes, because when else do you have time as parents to record things? Only when your kids are sleeping. Brinkley, if you're out there, we love you.